Former President Trump will be interviewed by Elon Musk a bit later this evening. The session comes after his running mate went on offense during appearances on 3 Sunday talk shows. Correspondent Brian Yennes has the latest on the campaign tonight from New York.
We will make America great again.
Former President Trump posting a series of campaign ads today on X, marking his first post on the site in a year, ahead of his live streaming conversation tonight with the platform's owner, Elon Musk, who says this is unscripted with no limits on subject matter, so should be highly entertaining. Musk has endorsed the former president and is leading and funding a super PAC dedicated to turning out the vote for Trump in key battleground states. The interview comes as Axios reports Trump's own advisors want him to focus more on policy issues, quote, pleading with him to adopt a new hard-hitting stump speech and praying he'll stop the recidivistic pull to simply improvise haphazardly. Tonight's live event is an opportunity to create a split screen with his opponent's campaign. Vice President Kamala Harris has not sat down for a news interview in the 22 days since Biden dropped out of the race. Underscoring this point, Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, a veteran, went on 3 Sunday political talk shows where he continued to criticize Harris running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a 24-year Army National Guard veteran, for suggesting he served in a combat zone.
I'm not criticizing Tim Walz's service. I'm criticizing the fact that he lied about his service for political gain.
A Harris campaign spokesperson says Walz, quote, misspoke when he suggested he served in a combat zone.
We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Walz has not sat for a news interview since joining the Democratic ticket.
I think Tim Walz should have to correct the record.
According to a memo obtained by Fox, the Make America Great Again, Inc. super PAC is set to spend $100 million over the next 3 weeks, running 4 different ads on TV and digital in the 7 battleground states, attacking Harris for, quote, being dangerously liberal.
I'm back. How you doing, Trench?
Just love this. I love this. What's going on, chat? How we doing, man? Everyone is rolling tonight. What's happening?
Day.
The whole team's here.
Whole team. We're
Hello,
coming.
we are ready.
Coming
Looks like Trump's thing is lit up. Can we refresh to see if the space started?
Yeah, that would be 15 minutes early, but
yeah,
let's see.
I think they're setting up the room, but I can see it glowing, so that means that there's they probably have like the waiting room up if you scroll down, because he's on his thing right now.
Hey, ALX, work with Klein on this offline, please. Hey, everyone, what's up, guys? We are here and we are live. I have had a bit of a family emergency / miracle today and over the weekend with something that we'll talk about in the morning show, but I really appreciate everybody tuning in here. Everything is good. Everything is set. Everything is clear. And yeah, everyone in the family is safe and sound. And so it's, yeah, we experienced a miracle here. You know that we believe in miracles on this program. And I think we are going to witness something quite remarkable tonight. But once again, I appreciate everybody, their prayers, and also, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it on the morning show. This is why we were offline for the majority of the day. But it looks like here, do we have Trump speaking?
So right now they're just playing music, intro music before we have it muted, so it's not annoying.
Got it. All right.
We're monitoring.
Real soft.
So what you're seeing here on your screen is the space. It looks like ALX. Is this going to be a visual space? No, just audio.
No, so it's going to be audio only. So right now on X, there is a way to do video space, but as of now, only the host can show video. So it would just be Trump showing like his selfie cam. I think they're working on a way to do co-hosts as well. So, you know, they could talk with a FaceTime type thing or like an Instagram live, but I don't think they're going to have video included. But like I said, it would only be Trump's video if so.
So that would be kind of awesome. Actually,
Yeah,
that's
that
correct.
would be
Trump just
legendary.
put on selfie cam.
That would be legendary.
That'd be
That would be,
amazing.
I would love to see that.
Hello, how are you? How do I use this thing? Whatever.
Holding up the phone.
Yeah,
He's
that's
been-
right.
Yeah.
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.
He's
If
been
you know,
on
you
X
know.
all day though. He's been posting all of our favorite ads lately that we've been reposting, and he had a couple text posts, but nothing too spicy. Like I had said a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I want Trump to come back to X to start savaging randos in their replies again, because somebody was like calling him like a loser or whatever, and then he's like, so why do you follow me like a little dog or something like that, or like some random like egg account with like 5 followers. Like I want Trump to start doing that again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got off to a quick start here because we didn't want to miss a second of the President Trump Elon Musk interview. Again, what you are witnessing here is Donald Trump's space on X. So this is hosted by Team Trump and not by President Trump? Or
It's
no,
hosted
is that
by
the pinned?
President
This is just the
Trump.
pinned tweet. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
So this is the pinned tweet. What you're looking at here, if you're not familiar with Twitter Spaces, which allegedly I must not be. ALX, how many people viewing right now?
I'm trying to see right now. Looks like, yeah, the actual.
We're not going to be able to
post has-
scroll down through all the avatars.
Yeah.
Listen,
It
when
has
they did this
100
with Ron DeSantis, there was 500,000 people listening in, and then the space crashed. Not trying to bring bad juju to any of this tonight, but because I hear Elon Musk has been capacity building, right?
Yeah, he's been testing it for the past 24 hours. He's posted about it. I think after last go around with the DeSantis campaign, the Trump campaign doesn't want to have the same thing happen twice here.
Yes, Robbie Meyer, producer Robbie, and the whiz kid Eric. Yeah. I'll come up with a better nickname. Sorry, I'm very sleep deprived right now.
Let's be honest.
Yes, that's right.
We have Zuckerberg here with us.
I'm here joining the X live stream tonight.
He's not barbecuing though, so we don't know why he's here.
I got my chains on though.
So we have the president here in a space, and it looks like we are. It says right now 0 people have joined the space. No, it says 82,000.
82,000 for me. It says, yeah.
That's what it just said, 82,000. So it just populated. So we have, it's 10 minutes before the space is supposed to kick off, and we have 100,000 people in the space with President Trump.
It also says the maximum amount of requests have been sent to join this space. Because, when you can request to join in the mic, it says maximum has been reached.
It won't even let my computer in. I'm sitting here and it's just saying that I'm on another space, which I'm not, and that 36,000 people are listening. So there's clearly some technical issues going on here.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Part 2.
Biggest
here we go again.
Ever. Let's see.
So ALX, I have been offline for the majority of the weekend, and today, tell us, there's been quite a bit of breaking news on X with President Trump.
Yes.
Fill us all in. You are the world's expert.
Yeah. So this all started around 3 a.m. actually last night. So on X, you can buy ads, and they'll only be promoted as ads, and they won't show up on your profile. So around 3 a.m. this morning, I got like a ton of text messages saying with a link to an ad that President Trump had posted or promoted, and it wasn't showing up on his profile, saying, did Trump really post this? It's not showing up. And it was like an ad, one of those dramatic videos. And that was kind of the indication that he planned on coming back to X full force this time, because a lot of people were seeing that. And then it was confirmed around, I think it was like 11 a.m. today, when he posted that same video to his profile. So that was his first post, the same thing that he was promoting. And then about 10 minutes later, he posted a text post just, indicating, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago when I was in office? And then for the rest of the day, he was posting a bunch of ads. He was promoting the space, and really showing that he's coming back in full force now And it wasn't just a one-time thing like the mugshot post last year, almost a year ago to the date almost. I think next week is going to be the year anniversary of the mugshot. And that was his first post back, and he hadn't posted since. So he's posted about 10 times, I think, today. So it's a clear indicator that he plans on coming back full time to X.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk just joined the space, and we still have simply President Trump playing what is effectively elevator music right now. Why don't we listen to some of it? You guys can just hear for yourselves. Yeah, like this is what it'd be really annoying to do a whole lot. This is effectively all you're missing here. Elon Musk, I'm watching. Elon Musk has in fact joined the space. The issue that I see, ALX, is we're going to need to refresh because I want to be able to see Elon here. Yeah, I don't see Elon. Elon's avatar should be right up near the top near President Trump.
Yeah, if we want to pop off screen and then refresh it.
President Trump has also gained like 2 million more followers today. Am I wrong, ALX?
Yeah, it looks like that. And he's actually, I believe, the 9th or 10th most followed account on the platform, despite not being active since 2021. Elon is number one. He surpassed a bunch of like celebrities like Taylor Swift and a bunch of celebrities that don't even use the platform a whole lot. So now that he's active, I'm curious to see if he'll become, the number 2 or 3. And yeah, looks like space is having some issues.
Oh no.
Well, yeah, we'll have to let them smooth this out, but
oh no.
Yeah.
All right, on your end.
Looks like on our end as well.
Well, let's go ahead and make sure that we get our tech fixed right away. So, once again, boys, this is just elevator music playing right now. We won't miss a second of it, but we want to make sure that we get you guys the most accurate view of who's all joined. It's 120,000 people in. Live for this conversation. Elon Musk has joined, and so let's rock and roll. ALX, there was quite a bit of I guess, hesitation with President Trump coming back onto the X. Why would that be?
Yeah, so there was a couple things. So the first thing was his contract obligations with Truth, but that actually expired over a year ago. But then the other part of it is he's been tied up in a lot of legal battles in which he needed money to pay lawsuits, and his net worth was being threatened. Earlier this year, he just got a bunch of bonus for the Truth Social stock staying above a certain amount of money. And basically, the calculus was if he joined X during all of this, then it would cause the stock to crash and it would put his net worth at risk, which, he would need to pay all of these legal bills. So that was kind of the calculus that I guess he was, fighting between the fact that he doesn't want to be overcome by these legal bills. And that's kind of keeping them at bay. All of his lawfare, he's keeping at bay because he's saying, yeah, I can afford to pay this. And actually he was, after the Truth Social stock spiked, he was worth more than he had ever been worth, even before the presidency. And he couldn't liquidate that and just, say, I'm going to cash out and then tank the stock. Because he's an owner, there's certain laws where he has to retain a certain amount of ownership, and he's contractually obligated as well to do that. So again, he didn't want to join X and then tank the stock and then put that at jeopardy. But it seems he's making sort of a calculated approach here where he's still posting on Truth and he's posting on X and coming back for an interview. So that's for a purpose. And I think Truth stock was down a little today, but not, significantly. And also he's weighing kind of the campaign is, I think we all know, is more important to him and winning back control of the White House because the future of the country is worth more than his net worth. And, he took a bullet for the country. So, you know, all of these the lawfare and everything, it isn't going to face him. And he's going to put the good of the country before his own needs.
So he's been these posts have been nuking, right? Like, what are we looking at here? Why don't we pop up Trump's feed again, ladies and gentlemen? It seems like we're back at it again with spaces. Pop up Trump's feed again, please, and let's go through what some of his more recent posts have done. Let's navigate down the page.
I know the one earlier reached like 8 million in under an hour. Let me pull it up on my phone to get the metrics on it. His first one is already at 28 million, and it was posted at 11:19 a.m.
So Donald Trump's grand return. Yeah. So this is the first tweet back, which is 148. Sorry to dead name Twitter. 148,000 likes, 500,000 likes, 148,000 retweets, 27 million views. This is the power of this platform, man.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. And I think it's quite funny too. There's a trending topic today, and there's an organized, concerted effort to do a quote unquote Twitter blackout. They're dead naming it again. The same people that said that they were leaving X when Elon Musk bought it are the same people now coordinating a trend for people to black out. Like over 2 years later, they're still on the platform, and they're angry that Trump is back on the platform. They're also encouraging him to hashtag go back to Truth Social. So the same people that told us they were leaving 2 years ago are still here and upset. It's quite interesting.
So I don't know how is that supposed to work? So you all leave. So the most annoying screeds leave the platform. The people who mass report everyone, and then, well, who's that supposed to hurt exactly?
Yeah, I know.
You get back one of the most famous men on Earth, arguably the most famous man walking the earth right now, and we lose some sock accounts who have major eating disorders and mental health problems. That's it.
Ukraine flag in bio. Yeah, the one that I had, I shared a screenshot of the one coordinating the campaign had like Ukraine flag in bio, like all of these resist hashtags in their bio, and it was a interesting profile. And yeah, what happened to Threads?
What happened to Threads?
Twitter killer. Mark's. I noticed this the other day. One of the posts from Donald Trump, I think it was the one saying that he was going to do outdoor rallies again, that had more reposts and likes and engagements. And I think I don't know if Truth Social has views. Anyway, it was beating Mark Zuckerberg's post that was up for 3 or 4 days, which was the last post at that point on his Threads account, in 2 hours. So everyone likes to trash Trump and Truth Social and everything. However, one of his posts that was 2 hours old had more engagement than the owner of Threads, the Twitter killers platform, did in 3 days. And that was his last post on that platform. So he's being blown out of the water. But yeah, that's the Twitter killer, all right.
Yeah, I wonder what the Threads user base is right now.
Yeah, they lie about it too.
I wonder how many people are actually up on Threads, actually using it every single day. Also, it's a pretty nasty. Like if you download it, it just sends nonstop updates and like I see, like my wife's on Instagram, and they did a huge push on Instagram for people who use Instagram to port over to Threads, and it is like a parasitic app. It clogs up your entire feed and is all constantly sending you notifications. Yeah, would not recommend Threads.
It appears in your feed when you're scrolling, and then also in your notifications. Whoever just posted, and I get a ton for Zuck. Zuck just posted a new thread, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't. Yeah. That's the way that they got signups too, because they technically lied. They said, "Oh, we had we're the fastest growing app. We had X amount of new users in 24 hours or whatever." They conceded those weren't actually new users, and you couldn't delete it because it was an extension of your Instagram profile. Those weren't new users. Threads was just a clone of Instagram and a tool, basically an extension of Instagram until recently. And because people were like, yeah, I can't delete it. It's like, yeah, because it's attached to your Instagram account now.
Ooh, man. I'm like, I do not recommend that you ever download Threads. We are certainly active on Facebook and Instagram, and are, you know, those platforms are what they are. But this whole Twitter killer thing is it just doesn't work out. You're just never going to be able to replace. You're never going to be able to replace Twitter, and you're never going to be able to replace X. Sorry, keep going back again. Not a lot of sleep over the last 24 hours, but I think what's like probably most important about all this is when they bring back Trump's account, you bring back all these historic tweets. I mean, you bring back the final tweet that was up on his account for a very long time was, "I will not be attending the inauguration," which is an epic one. And one that I had forgotten was his final post before he was banned, until you were brought back the same night, ALX. It was ALX
Yes.
and President Trump brought back within, like, I don't know, maybe instantaneously, the same time, within minutes of each other. Is that correct?
I think it was about 20 minutes. So he was brought back after the poll, and then he posted, "Oh, he will be reinstated." And then a bunch of members of the Freedom Caucus, Lauren Boebert, Judiciary, a bunch of members of the Freedom Caucus, in reply to that post said, "Great, now reinstate ALX." And then 20 minutes later, I get a text from the chief of staff from Matt Gaetz, and they're like, "Are you back?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess so." That's how I found out. He sent me a screenshot of my profile, and I'm like, "Holy crap, I'm back." And then you called me, and we were all freaking out. But yeah, it was within, I think, like 20 minutes of each other that I was brought back. It's pretty surreal still.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the space was supposed to go live at 8:00. However, one, there are some technical difficulties with the space, and many people are reporting that the app has crashed. That is effectively not showing anything for anyone. We are still listening to elevator music. Some people have gotten in, some people have not. But an unfortunate series of events. We thought the numbers fluctuate all the time as to who's in and who's not. Elon is no longer in the space. We obviously are efforting as we are obviously efforting as much as possible. We're not going to miss anything. ALX, are you still in the space?
Yeah, so I have it open on my phone. I can still hear the music.
Right.
Elon is still showing up in mine, but like we all know, we don't know how updated it is. And we kind of expected it, unfortunately, because Spaces is I don't know. They tried to prevent it this time by starting it a little later. What happened the first time, X engineers told me, was so they started the preview 24 hours earlier, and they allowed 500,000 people to make the reservation, which when that happens, you get a notification when it starts. So what happened the last time is everyone got the notification at the same time. So 500,000 people tried joining all at the same time. And they were trying to avoid this by starting it the preview like 15 minutes before instead of 24 hours before. But it seems like they're having the same issue with a bunch of people trying to join at once. Unfortunately,
so
they did some.
It's a capacity thing. We did a space with Tucker that had 55,000 people watching, listening, and it went well, right? Yeah.
It went well. Well, the thing is, right now for me, it says 183K. But that's probably all the people that are actually in. There's, where one of the, maybe tens of thousands of other people's trying to get in.
There's no point in sugarcoating it. I mean, guys, you just, you can see here on screen, you can see the navigation on screen. So you're supposed to be able to click on that purple icon, glowing icon, and that will bring you into the space, right? And that's not, that just grays. And I've been trying this on desktop as well. It just goes gray and it doesn't navigate you into a space.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep an eye. It says Elon is on the space for me when I go to his profile, so I'm trying to keep an eye on it as well. But I mean, that's the best we can do is keep refreshing to try and navigate there until they sort their issues.
Well, there we are.
It's a pirate. X is still a pirate ship, okay? At least
holla at the wonderful Nurse Kate, my wife. What's up?
What's up?
Hello, Nurse Kate.
Just waiting for another Twitter space. Trying not to get DeSantis.
It's like a theme.
I hope it's
no hate. We love Elon. No hate.
Move fast and break things. Okay, that is the motto of the X pirate ship.
The problem when you're too popular.
We love Elon. So we're of course we love Elon. We love Trump, but you know we're trying this live with everyone else. Let's click again. Show us. So there we go. So navigate over to Elon's page. It's going to show you the same thing. So we go over to Elon Musk's page. It shows that he's live with President Trump. And it's and I'm ALX. I'm getting reports from everyone that this is.
It is not just us. Trust me. I'm looking. I'm seeing it all over. It does say that 213K people are in,
and it's just elevator music. Once again, you're not missing anything. It's just elevator music. Once more. So, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There's your beautiful. I mean, at least it's not YMCA.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I love the YMCA. So yeah, I mean, we can do some lo-fi chill vibes music as we await the room. But that's all that it is. That's all it is right now.
Last time they did this, they launched another space and went over to it, if I remember correctly. I believe
that is
Zach's. And I bet they're working on a similar solution to find another bigger space where they open up essentially a highway of data and move everyone over, because I can't see them not letting people listen. That's not in their MO at Twitter or X.
I mean, we do. Lucky for us, this is. So I said, well, Elon's not populating. That's a little strange. Maybe we should refresh the page, but that was apparently the wrong decision, because then then our producer gets locked out. But here we are. We're sitting here. I'm sitting here looking at the space. I'm in. On the space, it shows Tim Pool, it shows Elon Musk, it shows some of my favorite memer accounts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is sitting there listening to space.
Yeah, it seems like web is having more of an issue than mobile. From what I'm seeing. From screenshots and then also from our experience, because it's working on mobile for me, but
I know. Yeah. Production team, why don't we do why don't we try why don't we share a screen with a mobile device, and we'll try that way. My mobile device is working, quote unquote, but you don't really know if it's working. No one's spoken yet. No one's talked yet. Again, we're not haters. There's going to be a bunch of haters. We're not haters. We're huge fans, massive fans of Elon Musk. What he's doing is the hardest thing anyone can do. And I think he's doing it with the best team that he can. I mean, we toured X. We went to X in San Francisco and toured it. I mean, these people are unbelievably devoted and smart. But yeah, it was some big time, some big time people are like hitting up the group chat saying, why can't we get into X? If it's not just you, ladies and gentlemen. It seems to be maybe tens of millions of people trying to join this space right now.
It is every single post that I'm seeing on my X feed right now. Is
Yeah, I
people
can
saying
imagine.
I can't get in.
So it says right here. Okay, so maybe this is the best way to do it. All right, maybe there's and you know what? Like this is our golden ticket. All right, this is our golden ticket, and I'll take full responsibility for telling our producers, oh, let's just refresh because I wasn't seeing Elon. I thought we could just refresh. Little did I know, idiot. So here we go. So here's what it looks like on the mobile device. Let's go ahead and let's make me full screen here. So here's what we look like on mobile device. Recognize some of those accounts, but again, simply elevator music. It says 200,000 people watching. I have a feeling, ALX, that it's actually more like it's actually more like 2 million or more.
Yeah,
and that this was that the capacity is more than anyone can imagine. At X, how many users on X per day?
Let me see. Daily active users. I know they've recently became one of the more popular sites. They overtook Facebook and Instagram recently. I think they're in the top 3 now. Let's see. Daily
Just
active
correctly,
users.
right? You guys can hear this, Crystal?
Yes.
You guys hear
Yes.
this? Okay, so I want you all to know we have the golden ticket here. Okay, so if you're watching right now, we have the golden ticket. Maybe because we have 2 million followers, maybe because we're verified and have an organization with X, we are in. We have a professional microphone and we are in. Okay, we have a production staff that is racing to try and get something that is desktop oriented, but nonetheless, if anyone starts speaking, we have let's turn it all the way up. We have a crystal. Can you hear this?
Yep.
I'd hate to have to do it in this way, but like we have the connection. Okay. If they decide just, F it, we'll do it live and no one can get in. So Trump and Elon have what is like a special ticketed conversation with these users, then at least you'll be able to hear it on our channel. Okay. If you can't get in. Is that fair to say? Now,
yeah,
I want to let you know, I'd rather not have to do it that way. And we were completely prepared. We were completely prepared to, do it through desktop, and we're up and live. I just wasn't watching. It just didn't seem like it was refreshing live. And so our team is efforting and working like animals right now to try and get that back working. Sadly, the entire internet seems to be locked out of this space. So I will not touch this phone. I will not touch it. I will not touch it. We will, if Elon Musk and Donald Trump start speaking to each other, we will have access. ALX, do you have access?
I do have access as well.
Okay. Yep. We have two. We have dual capacity to listen to this space.
Yep.
In case you get kicked out or I get kicked out.
I'm going to send to the chat too. I have a direct link to the space. Might be faster in trying to get.
I want to let you all know that we were completely prepared, and this was totally my fault. I said, boys, let's just refresh. And little did I know. Well, here's the deal is like Elon Musk's been very, very public about fixing this, right? He's been very public about like, we're going to do capacity building. He's been working on it for 24 straight hours. This isn't going to happen again. Again, I'm not a hater. All right. I'm not a hater. I don't own X. Okay. Last thing I'm trying to do is hate, but the DeSantis thing was a missed opportunity, a botched and missed opportunity, sadly, that just didn't have the right vibe. It was unfortunate. So
yeah,
I really hope that doesn't happen here. However, it seems like, what's crazy is that the numbers seem to be going down in the space, and there's no way that's possible, ALX. Like, there's no way.
I think right now it's maxed out on all of the people that are able to join at the moment. So I'm not sure if they're going to do what Robbie said. Like last time, I believe they just started it from David Sachs's profile instead of Elon's profile.
Okay, Elon Musk, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. There appears to be a massive attack working on shutting it down. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X working on shutting it out. Throw the Tweet up, please.
Yeah.
Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. So Elon Musk says, and we have the link, ladies and gentlemen. Boys, is that link working? Again, you will hear it one way or the other. We prefer you hear it through the desktop here, where you're able to see everyone, where you're able to see everybody. But either way, if we have to hold our cell phones up to the microphone, we will bring you this. ALX, if I get booted out, you will have the capacity to.
Yes, sir. I got it right here.
All right. I got mine right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are set. Elon Musk says that there was a massive attack, cyber attack on X, and they're trying to shut it down. Elon Musk is one of the smartest people on planet Earth, but this would explain why the space, it has not started yet. If you're watching live, we are 100% live. It's 8:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Currently, there has only been elevator music for the last 30 minutes on the space. However, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are on. Elon Musk announcing seconds ago that there was a cyber attack, ladies and gentlemen, on the space, and that either way the conversation will proceed. Just a lower number of people will be allowed in. ALX and I are in. Our producers are working furiously to get into the space.
Yeah, and what's interesting, it's a little different than the DeSantis era, because the DeSantis era, they were having issues with the space even staying up, and they had issues, I think, speakers joining and stuff. It seems like it's the space itself is stable. The issue is new users joining it. Whereas, like I said, the last time they weren't even able to get the space up and running. That's why they had to, completely close it down and restart. So at least this time, like Elon just said, they could proceed with the conversation. It's just unfortunate that a smaller amount of people will be able to have live access to it. But that does show a difference between the two errors that we saw in the DeSantis case and now in this case.
Very interesting. There were a lot of people that did not want this live to go forward.
Oh yeah,
right. Like, there are a lot of people that did not want this to happen, including the European Union. ALX, please explain.
Yeah, so the European Union sent a threatening letter to Elon Musk today, in which he was thoroughly ratioed into the sun by multiple users. And he was saying basically that there was a risk that there would be hate speech and other concerning language on the space, given the nature of Donald Trump himself as a candidate. And then also there were issues with there's riots and stuff in the UK. And a lot of people were pointing out, it's like the UK is no longer even part of the EU. So not only do they not have jurisdiction over free speech in America, and they can't tell Americans what to do with their free speech, but they're not even, the UK isn't even a member of the EU anymore. So basically they're threatening them, saying we make up about a third of your user base, and we'd hate to have something happen where. What was that?
Is that accurate? They make up a third.
I'm not sure. It could be accurate. But let's see exactly what he said. I think he said about a third of user base. But yeah, so he basically was putting a gun to his head and saying, yeah, we hate to ban it in the EU, is essentially what he was saying.
Goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I know I'm being redundant here, but the entire internet here, let me pop up this right here. Okay, so here we go. I'm navigating. This is me on President Trump's page. I'm supposed to be able to click right here, this icon right there, and get into President Trump's page. Sadly, no, I can't. You'll notice that the screen goes gray, right? That's not your screen being fuzzy. That's actually happening where I'm being locked out here of the space. The space is not available, is what this looks like. This is President Trump sharing the space. See President Trump doing major numbers today with millions and millions of views on multiple very kick-ass ads. You should stay tuned, however, because ALX and your boy have the golden tickets right here. ALX and your boy. ALX, put it up. Put them up. We have the we have two golden tickets to the chocolate factory tonight for Charlie, and we can play you what you are listening to right now is the space. This seems to be the only way that people can get in. If you like logged into the space like right away, like the second it went live, and it went instantly to 200,000 viewers, then it stopped. Okay, stopped. It hasn't gained a single viewer. 200,000 viewers. So you will hear Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the interview one way or the other. Sadly, what you're seeing here on the desktop, which is the way that we are able to bring this to you via our streaming platforms, our streaming partners called StreamYard. This is the way that it integrates into StreamYard. You share a desktop, right? So I'm not able to share my mobile device. We're sharing a desktop here in StreamYard. Boys, if there is a capacity for me to mirror a mobile device in StreamYard, let me know. We haven't done that yet. But we will, ALX and I can both hold up our nuclear keys here, and you'll hear the
I might have gotten another one too on my trap drone. So I have another backup.
All right. If there is a way to mirror the device on screen, please do that. I don't have the capacity to do that here in the home office. So you can see here, this is the trending page here on X. And you'll see if you go to Elon Musk's page, you'll see that Elon Musk also live. This would normally bring us into the space, clicking on it. But you'll notice the screen just goes a slight tint of gray. And so that's what happens. This is a lockout right here. Live conversation with Donald Trump, 8 p.m., says Elon Musk, pinned. We tested the stream with 8 million concurrent listeners earlier today, says Elon Musk. This is interesting. He just sent this a minute ago. 8 million concurrent listeners. And the stream right now is showing me, you can see right here, the stream right now is showing me 207. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure that this is that you were able to see 207,000. Now, let me make this very clear for all of you. The X has a billion users. ALX? No. 500 million?
X total users?
Yeah, X total users.
I think
you're talking about a platform. So you're talking about a platform that has, many, like has hundreds of millions. Okay, let's just say safely hundreds of millions. Get me an exact number on that.
245 daily active.
A lot of people. There's not just 200,000 people that want to listen to this space. there's a lot more people than that. And Elon Musk saying that he tested it for 8 million concurrents. 8 million concurrents would be the equivalent of like a presidential debate, right? Would be the equivalent of like an NFL game, like the equivalent of like a big time Sunday NFL game. I mean, these are huge viewership numbers, especially live on social media, without terrestrial broadcast. And so this is what they were expecting, says Elon Musk right here. 1 minute ago. And he says that there was an attack that has stopped it. This purple sort of blob here, for lack of a better term, or this gray blob, is where the space should load, right? The space should load there, and you should be able to see all the users and be able to see what's happening. But unfortunately, we are live right now. This is not happening.
Elon just shared an update that they're going to proceed at 8:30 with a smaller number of users.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our production team will continue to voraciously attack this issue. But unfortunately, and I hate it when this is the case, these issues are out of our hands right now. Now, inside of ALX in my hands are the tickets to the event. So we have it right here. It's still the elevator music. I'll turn it all the way up so you can hear it.
Let's see.
What, Alex?
I may have a solution for us. Give me a sec.
Okay, great.
Stream is in. They're just playing some music there, but I just sent a stream that may have screen access for us.
There it is.
Oh, did we get it?
Oh, well, mine just popped up for the first time.
Oh, let's see. Did you do start listening? See if it. Oh, let's see. Oh, we're in. Doot, doot, doot. We're in.
There you go. Can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
Test, test, test. Good.
I think you have to hit got it.
Can we hear this?
Yep, I can hear it.
Okay.
And then hit got it again. There we go. Yep, we got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live in the space right now.
They might have, I think they might have, so if they're proceeding with a smaller number of users, they might be capping the amount of people that are trying to join. So we might have just snuck in.
Okay. Got it. Well, you are in, ladies and gentlemen. You're the hottest ticket on the internet right now.
Yeah, it looked like a bunch of people are getting in. So now there's 500,000 people.
Wow.
listening.
So it just shot up.
558K. Just shot up again, 50K. 79K now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this is it. We're not going to, they said they're going to start at 8:30. So we're just going to let it play. You know, we're not messing around with this.
Yeah.
Now it's back. Now it's up to 600,000 people. So it just instantly shot up.
It's cooking.
How fast to 1 million? You are listening to the space live here. Again, there's unfortunately there's been an attack on X, according to Elon Musk.
Yeah, we're at 633 now. Yeah, it looks like a ton of people. They must have resolved whatever issue they had.
Okay.
It should be starting. Awesome. I was going to say, I wonder if they'll take questions at all, but we'll see if they how things go when they start. But I'm curious to see if Elon offers to take questions from the audience and see what Trump does. I think Trump would be game for it. Kamala would have a panic attack though.
$700. Okay. Hey, can we tone? I mean, again, can we? Again, it's just annoying music. So let's quiet that.
Yeah, let's turn the music down a little.
Ladies and gentlemen, we won't, of course, miss a second of the actual interview, but there's no way to. It is just that obnoxious. The second we hear them start talking, we will run to the space. You're seeing the space live right now. You're seeing the space live right now. Again, it is just elevator music. We do have the fail-safe system of also being logged in here. But it is just elevator music. And unfortunate, what Elon Musk says is an unfortunate cyber attack on X. Now it is nearly 800,000 people in the space. So it is growing at an exponential rate.
Yeah, we're going to be at 1 million in no time.
Growing at an exponential rate. Boys, do we have backups for this? If they're giving away tickets, grab as many of them as you can. Okay, great.
Yeah, I have 2 on mobile.
Now have backups.
Let's
we apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We hate it when it's a problem that's outside of our control. I personally believe we have the, without question, best production team on the entire internet. However, there are sometimes there are technical issues outside of our control. So this is the elevator music. Once again, let's kill that. Okay.
Yep.
Are you testing both feeds?
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing.
Okay. Got it. All right. So now we have good backups just in case for this space. The elevator music just ended. Let's go to the space.
Music has stopped.
Okay. Full on audio. Let's have a listen. 800,000. It's silent, but let's just keep it rolling. Crank it, baby. It may be starting.
But I don't see Elon.
I don't see Elon either. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We are watching the space. The audio isn't broken. President Trump has just muted his mic. Okay, now he's back. And then we're going to need to have Elon obviously pop into the space. Elon dropped and will presumably be re-entering the space. 850,000 people now in the space. Up exponentially. Yes, please, President Trump, say.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Sorry to keep you
Telling
waiting.
me I crashed X.
Please do that.
Well, we're ready to go here in the studio. We have a mobile feeding into the soundboard through Bluetooth now and a computer. We are not going down.
No, we have two computers over there as well. So.
Yeah.
We will not crash.
We are back.
We will not crash, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Robbie. I want hail Robbie and hail Eric and hail Klein in the hail Robbie, Eric, and Klein in the chat. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, we will not go down. We will not.
This is good test for our DNC coverage, as you can see here. We're testing out.
Feed. We have multiple feeds and multiple connections to this space. We are set to go. Okay. Right now, if you don't hear anything in the space or you don't hear any elevator music, that's because there is nothing. They stopped the elevator music after 45 minutes. It was 45 minutes of elevator music. They stopped the elevator music. And now we have nearly 900,000 listeners on X. I personally believe that would be that may be close to 9 million wanting to listen. Maybe I'm overestimating, but Elon Musk just said his interview with President Trump, they tested it for 8 million, which was what their capacity. They were saying their capacity needed to be at 8 million.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see how many people are now still trying to get in.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have multiple backups. We again have tickets. We also have tickets on our phone in case it crashes. But I think the cleanest listen is going to just be here on what you're seeing is the mobile X on a desktop device. We do have the space on our mobile devices as well. We are ready to listen in. But once again, we are awaiting the president who has not spoken yet. Elon Musk has not spoken yet. Elon Musk has spoken, however, on his X page saying that there was a massive cyber attack that prevented. Elon Musk has just joined. You can see there on screen.
Okay.
Now our screen is reflecting the people in the space. That's very good. Okay. You won't miss a moment, ladies and gentlemen. On this stream, we will not go down. We bought as many tickets to this thing as they'll sell to us.
Yeah.
All right.
Now that they're both in, they should start talking momentarily.
Mm-hmm. ALX, do you think that they'll open it up for other people to ask questions?
I'm curious. I think it's going to be an Elon call at the end, because this is what happened last time with DeSantis and Vivek. They asked the candidate, and they're like, "Would you like to take questions?" When Vivek did his with Elon, that's how it went, and the same with DeSantis. And then, I don't see Trump saying no. So if Elon asks, then I think they'll take questions. So
I'm taking the under. I don't think they do any questions. Trump campaign, I bet they want to keep it nice and clean. Him in and out, have a good long talk. I don't know. I don't feel the questions tonight.
I agree with Robbie, especially with this delayed start. We saw what President Trump did to National Association of Black Journalists with the delayed start. He wasn't.
Your mic equipment doesn't work. It's all the mic equipment. I do see Marjorie Taylor Greene is listening in on this, so maybe she'll pop on. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious to see, like, they must be like on the phone right now.
Yeah, I think that they're probably speaking. Elon Musk did say, we have the clip, but I deign to play it because I do not want to. If you're just joining, ladies and gentlemen, there have been some major technical difficulties on X's end with a cyber attack, according to Elon Musk, that have prevented people from joining the space. Actually, my counter disappeared as well on the space. How many people listening now?
Mine as well.
Okay, so you're able to see it if you minimize it, ALX. 965,000 people. We round up. We round up for Elon. Pour one out for you, boy.
Wow.
If President Trump starts this thing by saying, sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business, I will scream. I'll scream.
I wonder if like their teams are both on the phone right now trying to coordinate. But I mean, it seems like they're both on, and when President Trump had his mic unmuted, it seemed like you could hear some background audio. So it looks like Elon unmuted. So let's see.
Okay.
Here we go.
There we go.
All right. Hello, everyone.
There it is.
My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation. So honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire, and so that's a big part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here. Is that was just incredibly inspiring, but I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant, I have to
Not
be honest.
pleasant.
I said there was blood. I had
Being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I didn't
much
know
fun.
I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about because it went at the right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. You know, I was telling somebody you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear,
Yeah.
and because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, "Bullets, bullets!" Get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was for those
Split
people that
second.
don't believe in God. I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more
maybe
now.
it's a sign. Maybe that's a sign,
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue, and
Yeah.
at that moment,
That's right.
the bullet missed your, hit your ear, but missed your head. I mean,
Well, the amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey, who a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "That's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, she said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them and for two other gentlemen are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them, equally. And we thought, my first question was, because I heard bullets flying over me, and I said, how many people were killed? Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, how many people have been killed? Because I knew there were other shots being fired. And they said, we don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt. And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium. And he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been badly hurt and killed. So I have to take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. but he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have to have in that particular work. But he took
Absolutely.
aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range,
Yeah.
one bullet. If that didn't happen, because
Yeah.
the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges
Sure.
up there with him, so
Well,
could have been very.
that's clearly he was very competent in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people,
Yeah.
because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and
Right.
Trump all over
I
it,
saw
and
the video.
she's screaming, "That guy's got a gun!" You saw it probably. There's a
No, I
guy
saw
up
the
there
video.
with a
I
gun.
mean, it's like I'm just. I guess. I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering how the heck are, basically people wondering by it, pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem
Yeah,
crazy.
well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and
Yeah.
he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun. And he fell down, actually very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly,
Okay.
but he fell down. And he did, from what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun. And the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf,
Yeah.
sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah. It's not a
No,
tough shot.
it's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the
Yeah.
distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. Look, it's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think they're screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd
Yeah.
control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of
Yeah.
people get killed with those stampedes. We had
Sure.
more people than you'd have at, some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and
Yeah.
and a lot of press too. There was many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people, because
Sure.
it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down. But the Secret Service
Yeah.
guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing. And
Yeah.
and these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate, would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now there was a lack of coordination. There was, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered, and
Yeah. I mean,
that was
I
the
think
big
that
thing.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick like what is the favorite place, what if you so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building, the
You're
roof of that
right.
building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better
No,
location. It's like
no, that
#1.
would have been the spot.
Um,
You know what people think
yeah.
is when the local policeman, who, by the way, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got
Yeah.
his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But what happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they
Yeah.
think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast. And maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, he
Yeah. But
he
as you
got
said,
me, but
he
it
would have
could have
hit.
been
I mean,
a much
yeah.
bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So like there was it was a very near thing.
It was a
So
miracle. If I hadn't turned my head,
yeah,
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly.
I would not.
Yeah,
I would
well,
not be talking to you.
maybe talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. We'd be talking from a
so
different place. But it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been pretty
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something, because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And
yeah,
that happens
yeah,
often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but it
yeah.
didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
Well, it was your I think your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I found admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And
Well,
yeah, so
thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else
yeah,
because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, sir, you were hit more than the ear. I said, nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up. And so I got up and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think. And I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them
yeah,
know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I
yeah,
got up because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
yeah.
It was a
Well,
terrible thing, but it
it
was
was
really nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn, that saved your life really was the illegal immigration
Right.
slide. Maybe this,
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was.
That slide says
You're
save your
right.
life,
No,
basically.
the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was, and I had to be at that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal
You know,
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the incredible
Yeah.
thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here
Yeah.
we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and
Yeah.
you know that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it
Yeah.
would have been a very different story. It's very much, I say, an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm
Sure.
honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted with a
Well, I was
bullet?
going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great. These are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey, killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying,
As you were
prior to
saying,
being
exactly.
so horribly
So,
interrupted.
yeah.
But
Yeah. So rudely interrupted by an
yeah,
assassination
so
attempt.
but no, but the chart,
Some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that in my last week we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous
Yeah.
chart,
Yeah.
but that was the lowest
Yeah.
point ever recorded. It was a really, I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Holman and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They says the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting
Yeah.
literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes,
Sure.
and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration and especially unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell a difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad, October 7th, because it should have never happened. It's so sad when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a secure border. And
secure elections, too.
Absolutely, secure elections. And so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. But as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and I, speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, and I think that I mean, like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are gonna, be great contributors to our society and to our economy, and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like in my opinion, actually, I'd say like probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's if somebody's like has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested. So it's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I hate to say it, because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it. But you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're allowing, again, they're allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're delivering them into.
That's what Castro did.
Yeah, well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It was a much smaller scale. But this is a massive scale, because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. This is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be. And I saw it today in New York, where somebody was knifed where they raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters and started
Sure.
pulling out the knives, and bad things happened today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
Yeah.
murder and all sorts of things. And they're releasing them into our country. And they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it because, now she's trying to say she
Sure.
had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location, which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
had nothing to do where the problem
Yeah.
is. But she was the
Well.
border czar, and people
Yeah. Yeah.
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known
Yeah.
what happened. You could shut the border down. He
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the difference. But the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her
Yes.
that, the fact is you could just call her, she was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's
I mean,
horrible.
whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These
So
are
people can look at my video and say, hey,
Yeah.
these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that
um,
Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And, the caravans are coming in and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing
yeah,
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them. But these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not
yeah, yeah,
workers or they don't want to work or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases. And they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are
yeah,
really brutal people. And they're coming into our country
yeah,
at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
yeah. No,
we have 20 million people
this I
poured
think is.
in. It's a terrible
Yeah, I
thing.
think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. We think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, the four. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To
No,
be clear,
Mexico
it's
less,
just it's just
less
it's
than
just the
the others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. it would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
US.
already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York. New York, and I love that place, and what they're doing to it is horrible, what they're doing to it. And all the courts do is they
Yeah.
try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa, from the Congo, they're coming, from the Congo. And 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers. And they dropped them. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails, although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them out, and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, don't ever come back or you're going to be executed. And they don't want to come back. But they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America.
Just
They're
Earth,
coming from
rest of Earth,
everywhere.
basically.
And there are a lot of
Yeah,
really
everywhere on
bad
Earth.
ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible.
Well,
So
Elon, we're going to have, just
that's
to finish this up, we're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country, what they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. The same with other countries.
Sure.
Some are 30%. Some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it?
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different.
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it.
Well,
and we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it, you take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, no. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And do they fear the American president, or is there someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would rightfully be. I mean, look at the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But they put our country in danger with that stuff too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there. And the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow.
Yeah.
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Right?
sense. It's inconsistent. Certainly but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of
and
them.
that puts it puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one
It's
of
a
them,
big
and I
deal.
know them well. I know Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious. And they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass.
Yeah.
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil. But they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. Getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they
Those
were. They
like
were
absolutely...
epic everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him
Yeah.
Little Rocket Man, if Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden, I got a call from him, and they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met,
Yeah.
as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger. But President Obama, thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff, too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage. So
yes, I mean, it's because, I mean, people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well,
And
he and I had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say. Let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. I always say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden, and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat. The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war would have been, that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite. Everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disaster.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the 2 armies, you lost 500,000 people. And, Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it, Russia's gone, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. They've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight. And we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that. And a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things
And
we're going to do is
it's
we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen, and it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discussed the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Yes, absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon. And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest,
and it keeps growing.
I rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military. Did a great job on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were and bombers that were 70 years old, and we did a great job in that. Then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable, wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say
Yeah.
that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're
Sure.
going to need a lot of
Well, I mean,
electricity. You're going to need tremendous
yeah.
electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government
Right.
overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government
Yes.
spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a
The
person does?
waste is incredible, and nobody
It is.
negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I mean, I went through it, like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general walks in, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was
Yeah.
$5.7 billion for two planes. Now
Wow.
they're highly sophisticated.
That's
They're
insane.
even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy
It's
number.
a crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other
Exactly.
items.
Multiply it by a
the
zillion,
numbers are
and yeah.
astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But, if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
By the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah.
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's awesome.
he's great. And
Yeah.
he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought everything, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like 2,000%. And they had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included,
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having just like so many departments, you can't even name them all. And what Milei is doing is, he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's putting in regulations that make sense. And Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. In the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States and thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well-run. Sure. And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well. But they'll actually be forced to do better, because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And these people don't care about the students in these, faraway states. And it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching English, as an example. Give us a little English, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, too much. I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul.
It's actually amazing.
People moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois. So many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California, and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. how do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? You know, the taxes are among the highest taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job and they're crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right. Well,
That's
you're
the
going
only
to
thing
have
that's going to
that.
get them to change.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So you know, at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So you know what? Is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you know, you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that, I mean, the larger point here, too, you know, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy, a lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money, and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation, and if we can solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really big deal.
Well, the people that got hurt worst are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, you know, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that saved money and then they got no interest on their money and inflation destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. You know, when I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at it's sticker shock. They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason. But unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's an opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. If
Elon,
those two things, those are the big deals.
We set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for everyone we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in, and we had to focus on that, and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. and we were going to drill, and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline, and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in, and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. We got over that bad period where everybody was dying and feeling, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years, and also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better, and everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about maybe my views on climate change and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving, and the economy would collapse. So it's I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry, the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. You run out of oil and gas. It's not there it's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to stop farmers from farming or prevent people from having steaks or basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree. How crazy is that? Where you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is a little crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I just say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. Someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure,
Yeah.
really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that
I mean,
time,
my
something will
estimate,
come around that will be
yeah,
very good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that, but it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3
Right.
to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2, and I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard.
Right.
Just so it's that's actually, you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over and like, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower. But like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term, I think this can be done. Without but people can still have a stake, and they can still drive gasoline cars, and it's okay. It's like it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability. And I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I mean, the sexy joke, Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know, I like cheesy humor, so but I'm a big fan of like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing people.
Right. I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because, you have some places that go up and stuff. So they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming, because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But, I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars. And it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me, that's an immediate problem, because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear, and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president, because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. You know, China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that, you're not surprised to hear, very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even
Yeah.
surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's, a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about
Nuclear power is underrated. It's
I'll
awesome.
prevent World War III, I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that,
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas
it's rough
when
name.
you see what happened in
Good bad branding.
Right,
The
we'll have to
branding's rough.
rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
It does have a branding problem.
when you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No,
but,
that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's actually, it's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically. But let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think we need to be concerned about
what they've done to this country.
Obviously, yeah.
Well, we just won the big case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals, like Fani, Fani, spelled Fani, Fani. And it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare. It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up, because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens? What happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly not, I mean, he's clearly like, we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't
That's
have a
just obviously
president,
the
and
case.
she's going to be worse than him because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states now you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our country is becoming a very dangerous place, and she is a radical left San Francisco liberal, and now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
Yeah.
I want a wall.
I think that's,
she wants to release all the prisoners that are in detention, and some of these guys are really bad.
right.
That just came
Yeah, I
out
just saw
today.
that.
She doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. In your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not true. This is simply not true.
And everybody knows
it's
it's not true. It's a disgrace that she can say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. Like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides. That was a hard thing to do, unification.
Yeah, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. What does that say?
I think it's highly disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, is a very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. Their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can be swamped. We'll use the term that's appropriate, swamped. But they swamp it, by shooting enough missiles, you know this better than anybody, by shooting enough missiles,
Sure.
they can't defend themselves. You know, they just obliterate the whole
Yeah.
place. And that's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
she'll be worse than him because she's a believer
Yeah. No,
in
I
being
think you're right.
radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, you really, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her
I think
running mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now that's all
that's
I have
weird.
to hear. Tampons in
That's
boys'
weird.
bathrooms, and that means she
Yeah,
believes in that too. I mean,
yeah, that's
she
not
picked
okay.
this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as the president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election, and I mean I'm just stating my opinion. Now, you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission, saying, to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having, and there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries, and what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. You know, we have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. If you add up the European nations that in terms of an economy, it's about the same size. When you say as us, and they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from. In this case, the enemy would be Russia. It used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is they're in for 70-something million. I think even less than that, billion, and we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But they should, and I did it with NATO. There were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time. And the United States was the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses,
and then we get
even though,
taken advantage of on trade. So think about
yeah,
it.
well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's it's like, then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair. and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, when you talk about
So
cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics. I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russians and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
yeah,
Now, they've taken advantage
yeah,
of us
absolutely.
incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not
No.
smart. She's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but
Yeah,
no, he wouldn't have this.
that's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and
Yes, you
I'm
can actually
able
have a
to get it out
conversation.
because I get
I think
treated
this
unfairly
is
by
a
the
really
press.
big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible.
That's it's
This is like talking to an NPC.
no.
So it's just
Well,
impossible.
but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner, we had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let me
sure.
tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it, but I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if
Yeah.
it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now,
Yeah.
Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating, or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is, the whole concept
Yeah.
is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I
It
saw a
would-
picture of
yeah,
her
yeah.
on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing, and actually,
Yeah, yeah.
she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look.
Yeah.
She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the
It's
future
true.
is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach
Right.
new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future.
They want the
I
American
think
dream
just
back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. The Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We
Right.
could build high-speed
Yep.
connections that are more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. It's possible to solve traffic with tunnels.
That's right.
We've already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw
And,
what you did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and you could do that all over. You could do that all over. It's deep.
Yeah,
You
and
don't even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right areas.
no, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation, with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high-speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high-speed transport between cities, and that would be something that Americans can say, "Wow, okay, we've got something that's cooler than anyone else in the
Yeah.
world." That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an
And
American.
much safer than surface trains, where there is a danger there. With crazy people, it's much safer, much better. And it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it fascinating, and I've seen the systems and how they work, and the bullet trains they call them, I guess, and they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes
You're right.
illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for
Yeah.
improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's
Yeah.
lives. And
I worked very
and,
hard
and
on that.
that-
We got that
yeah,
down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
yeah. It just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take
Yeah.
months, and that improves people's lives. I
Yeah.
think I just wanted to sort of hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year,
Yep.
and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big
Well,
deal.
Elon, just
So
getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in, and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. But people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved where you can, you basically, look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical companies, nobody wanted it. I got everybody into a room, and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list if somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative. Okay. And as you know, we got it done. we have saved right to try. They've been trying to get this done for 58
Yeah.
years, and it sounds simple, but it wasn't because I mean, the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done.
Sure.
Somebody you sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done, and we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to try. Hopefully you never need it, but if you
Yeah.
do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People,
Right.
if they had money, they go to
Yeah,
Asia, they
sure.
go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that, generally speaking, would
Yeah.
work. It's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
You're right.
And I think so long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just, in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get nervous because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you can see that right away. What is the number? Wow. What is it?
Well,
wow.
I think in terms of people
that's bigger than you said. You said 25 and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70. And I guess over a period of time, hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to weeks, it's going to be hundreds.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it, and they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over. I mean, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
I mean, with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, have any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just know
they always get away.
Nothing's going. And they don't even bother reporting it because they know that they're not going to, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are being getting off scot-free, and meanwhile the New York spending massive resources prosecuting you, and it's like what's this? And I think the sort of sensible public looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. The legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to some legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one. I mean, this is a very bad precedent what they're doing in terms of going after their political opponent, and that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent, and then you get a judge who's a strong Democrat, and I'm being nice when I say that. In many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge, and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could
Sure.
also be the other way, though,
Of course.
because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats.
Exactly.
And you get into a
Yep.
Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is
Yep.
losing. New York
Absolutely.
City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say, we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of
Yes.
justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of
Yeah.
inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
And I just want to, I want to
think
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk, you and I can talk about rockets.
it's kind of you to say. Thank you.
Tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars, so many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
It's a very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's, I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before. And if you look at my record, I've actually been, I'm not like, sometimes they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and, solar and batteries, helping them with the environment. And I actually, I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president. And, so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself, historically a moderate Democrat. But now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country. I think a lot of people thought, the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not. And obviously, we're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America is going to at a fork in the road, and
true.
And I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before. And I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left. And so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's
Yeah.
even more of an honor to have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And We're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system, just stop the lawfare, and I think that's like, and how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are just that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand. They call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so you and I will go and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated. And they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes, and then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA doesn't prosecute and that's let the guy out. Well, then why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
if nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension. They take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things. But I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand-up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you had about six of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot. They would be shot instantly. And, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get him back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get him back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get him back. They'd fly him in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring him back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept
Yeah,
it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one
yeah.
of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got them back. We took in so many, the MS-13 is probably
Yeah.
the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama.
Yeah.
They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either, not just illegals. So if it's, you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for
Right.
people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You're one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight.
Yeah.
And I didn't need this. I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice
Yeah.
life. I didn't need to go through
Yeah.
court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the
Sure.
same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop
It's horrible.
crime.
Like, the facts speak for themselves. The
It's
facts
so incredible.
speak for themselves. Like it's gotten to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of
That's
cities
right.
because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So, it's just, my values, I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is like, we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation. And so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about. And, that's the future I'm looking for. And, I'm pro-environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry because they're keeping civilization going right now, and but I do think we want to move a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You don't hear. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they literally have no money. And then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some great things. And I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things, the people, you learn. When I first came in, I tell people I was in Washington, D.C. only 17 times, according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have used them had I known. Now I know everybody, and I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice, otherwise we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. To me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job and a great inspiration to people. A great inspiration, and I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up, and I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election, and I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got a lot. I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Wow. You are muted, by the way.
That was amazing, ladies and
gentlemen. That was nuts.
We are muted because we don't want to talk. We don't even want to laugh over stuff like this. We learned the hard way to not let it rip when two guys like Elon Musk and Donald Trump are talking together. That was the most fascinating conversation I have ever heard in my entire life.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to be very clear about something. There was only one of us. You might have thought that all of us were on screen live for that conversation, but in reality, one of us was actually with Donald Trump. Now, it may take you're going to have to be an eagle-eyed. You're going to have to be eagle-eyed here to see. But what you're going to notice when you see here this photo of President Trump doing the space, and this is a photo of President Trump doing the space here. If you zoom, yes, zoom one more time. Okay, zoom one more time. Here we go.
Enhance.
Enhance. It's Alex.
Let's go.
I was getting so many texts and tags on X, bringing that to my attention in multiple photos.
Amazing.
ALX at the top of Trump's feed. Come on. Let's go, boys.
That's sweet.
It's so funny. I've seen so many posts too. It's like they both have been trying to wrap up this conversation for like 20 minutes, but they keep finding new things to talk about.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
Talk about like things Kamala just couldn't do. Like having an unscripted on the top of her head conversation for 2 hours. She destroyed it.
I see like Mark Cuban and then classic Harry Sisson. And then even Kamala's campaign sent out like an email blast about the space, about the two worst people in America that are having a conversation together or whatever. And then you ask the question is, okay, so how many individual questions has Kamala taken since knifing Joe in the back? 3. And 2 of them were about the debate, and they were the same answer. Oh, I'm going to do one debate and then see after. And then the other one was her word salad about diplomacy. And she said, the same 3 words 5 times. So it doesn't even count as, a sentence. She just repeated herself over and over. So, yeah, she could not do this for 2 hours.
Well, real quick, one other thing she can't do, we have it on screen right there. She can't even call X Twitter. That is the saltiest of salt right there.
Oh yeah,
we're not calling it X.
We can't call it X. That's salty.
Wow, such girl boss energy straight from the MCU. So embarrassing. Look at this. Right now, Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump. They're having a meltdown over there. They're freaking out. Millions listening to Trump and Elon. Kamala, give me money.
Give me $25.
The Kamala HQ has been just rabidly tweeting out every photo they can, or every video they can from tonight. And it's just, they're trying, but they know that they don't have the audience.
Well, so this is provable. I mean, first off, these AIs are amazing. This is called a fire space chat. I've coined it. Okay, I've coined it. TM. I may not be at the top of Donald Trump's spaces like your boy ALX. ALX, does Trump follow you on X? No.
He follows me on Truth Social. He has not followed me yet, but I will note that there has been only one change to his following today since he's been back. He unfollowed Mike Pence. That has been the only change to his following on X since he's been back.
ALX, do you approve of 2 things? 1, fire space chats, okay, and then 2, which is a remix on the fireside chats, which were made famous by FDR, and then 2, do you believe that Donald Trump should do one of these a week?
Yeah, I 100% agree, and that's one of the reasons I wanted him back on X is because he's communicating directly to the people, like without the third-party media. And again, Truth Social was good for half the battle because he was communicating, but then X has a bigger user base, so only the select truths were being conveyed to X through screenshots.
That's right. And this is some of the breakaway news from the space, and this is not even remotely. Men, boys, you're going to have to help me out. Help me out here. But Elon Musk volunteers to serve in government, running an efficiency committee to destroy government spending. Incredible. Donald Trump says he's more of a believer in God. He was a believer in God. He's even more after surviving an assassination attempt. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the numbers were concerned, I saw 1.33 million as the top concurrent viewership. These are people listening live in real time. Some of those listeners stay for the entire thing. Some people jump in and jump out. Some guys, got a bunch of kids and got to go, put their kids to bed, right? So some people jump in and jump out. Trump saying 60 million people listened. Absolutely. 60 million total listeners is probably what this thing's going to get, or maybe north of that. But live concurrence is where you really sort of see like the pop. In television, it's called a Nielsen rating, where your Nielsen ratings are based on how many people are watching you live, not watching you on replay. And so this is a really, really important metric. So 1.3 million people listening to this live, and there's a 2-hour conversation with no video component that had a cyber attack associated with it. Still, that would compete with nightly cable TV broadcasts. Tucker Carlson would regularly get 2 to 3 million people watching live. That was considered the biggest show on cable TV. Just for relation here, ALX and I had a show on Newsmax. Like, we did a show on Newsmax. He was my executive producer. Like, we know Nielsen ratings very, very well. So Elon Musk, with a number of headwinds against him, effectively just reverse engineered cable TV. Yes, like tonight, the cable show in ratings, in live viewers.
And without the visual aspect too is pretty impressive, because we just saw it too, like the Aiden Ross stream. It had the same energy where everyone is focused on that one thing, and X is all talking about it. Even their opponents are all talking about it. There's some sort of power to the new media, and spaces like X or Aiden Ross or even Joe Rogan. I know him and Joe Rogan are having a beef right now, but how big would that be if they squashed the beef right on his show?
It'd be so cool to do it on a Spaces.
Like
Joe Rogan hops in on the space. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is too, people kept saying that he's getting more relaxed, and like this is like genuinely probably what Trump is like speaking over the phone, because he's a big fan of just like having a phone call with people. He's old school. He doesn't email and text. He has phone calls. That's probably what he's like over the phone. When, like he said, I get calls from Donald Trump out of the blue. That's what Elon was saying during one of the shareholder meetings. So that's probably like similar to what like they talk about over the phone. So that's actually really interesting too.
Behind the scenes here of President Trump talking to Elon. Before we move off from this, the only reason I put this up is that it's really important to know that live concurrence is sort of the judge of how much the online space is ravenous for your content. And people who we really respect, who are friends of us, who are sort of like the leaders in this for news content, would be like Tim Pool, who always has a ton of live concurrent, 40,000, sometimes over 100,000 live concurrents per show. And this is awesome. We tonight had close to 100,000 concurrents just on YouTube. We had 60 to 70,000. We had 500,000 across all of our platforms, 60 to 70 on Rumble. It's an awesome night. Kamala Harris had 500. Kamala Harris has 500. She literally stole. She stole. Like, where's the guy in the wheelchair meme with like the young lady like stealing his ATM card? She stole Joe Biden's YouTube account because she has no subs, and she still gets 500 concurrents. There are channels that do like live feeds of like a fireplace log that get thousands of concurrents
every Christmas.
Yeah. Yep. And Kamala Harris can't get 500. This is a real shot. No trickery here, ladies and gentlemen, from the Joe Biden account.
We need a crackling, cackling Kamala Harris log that we can sell in the store, Benny. It just goes at you from the fireplace. For Halloween.
That's just scary. That sounds horrifying, actually. That sounds horrifying.
Well, you were talking about the cable news networks. They're playing clips of this.
ALX apparently has to get on a private phone call with President Trump because he's Trump was just staring at his avatar the entire time, and it was just like, I gotta meet that kid. Little does he know. ALX already brought his finest tube socks down to Mar-a-Lago.
I was looking for that picture. I was having trouble finding it. He's hidden it on the internet. It's not searchable. Every other photo of him and Trump or Elon is there, but not that one.
Okay, so here we go. Elon Musk and Donald Trump agree that they want safe, clean city, secure border, sensible government, spending no lawfare, fair justice system. How are those right-wing positions, says Musk, a former moderate Democrat? They're just common sense, 100%, says Trump. Trump is the moderate candidate.
It's more than just moderate. I think if you look at what he did tonight, he went and pivoted. He shifted his entire narrative to say we're not going to talk about Kamala and the DEI. We're going to talk about issues. And if you list them out, he talked about immigration, energy, foreign policy, inflation, the economy, the price of bacon, very important to a person like me, gas prices, and families, closing down the Department of Education, moving that power back to the states. He went on a point-by-point comparison of what the last 4 years have been under Kamala Harris and said, do you want what you've just had for 4 years, or do you want to go back to the gas prices from when I was president? Do you want to go back to the economy where you could afford to buy a house? And I think that's where we're going to go, and that's how we got to go to win. And Trump knows it, and he's right on top of it. He's sitting there talking with a billionaire 10 times over, or trillion? No, he's not trillion, but 10 times over billionaire. And he's sitting there going, how do we get back to that? How do we help the average person? And I think he nailed it tonight.
Yeah, in a what will probably be a 2.5 hour live. I think 2.5 hour live by the time it really got kicked off, which was 8:45 approximately. By the time they started speaking,
he didn't want to end. He wanted to keep going.
No, wanted to keep going. Just photographic proof that ALS.
Oh, there we go.
Did wear tube socks to meet President Trump.
Oh, wait.
It's so great.
I can hear him.
Look who's back. Look who's back. Right in time.
My AirPod died and it froze my whole computer.
We found the photo, ALS.
It was on my highlight. I'm not hiding it. It's fake news.
Boom, roasted.
So real quick, I have to say my favorite part of the whole conversation is when Donald Trump called the viewers chat. He's like, we got to ask the chat.
Yeah, what's up, chat? Dude. Donald Trump. We have 60 million people watching. That number is bigger. Like him going through getting live. The fact that Trump was like, wait a second, you can get live data on this. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like you're going through and explaining this to someone who just comes from a different media era, right? It's just Donald Trump is in his 70s. He was the master at like a different form of media, and it's neat to watch him discover what's actually happening. This is a live photograph of every leftist on X listening to the space right
Kamala HQ admin.
Kamala HQ. Kamala Harris could not go unscripted for 2 minutes. Trump did it for 2 hours. That's exactly right. Did anybody else notice this? Elon talking Trump. Bro, my favorite thing was the conversational aspect of it. As you said, it's like listening to a phone call. It was like listening to a phone call with Trump. They were going back and forth. They argued over nuclear energy. They argued over electric. They had like a bit of a debate, actually. Tim Pool's now beefing with Elon over this. Tim Pool's like, no, we went to Fukushima and I know a guy died there and whatever. This is great. This is like, the country needs this. Trump was very Trump, though, right? It's like why the meme works. Trump was like not trying to be polite. He was just being himself. He was very generous and gracious to Elon, but like he was still Trump.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
My favorite line was illegal immigration saved my life. That was the best line of the night. That was the one that just took it home. I was like, "Ooh, he just said that."
Or when Elon was talking about eating food in Japan, and Trump's like, "Oh well, I notice you haven't been feeling that well."
But he's not wrong. You can survive a little nuclear meltdown.
My entire timelines is memes created on this conversation in this audio only conversation. We haven't had something like this since radio, right? Like it's just like the advent of radio. It's so neat. I don't know, guys. Would I have wanted it to be on video? Probably, but it was neat to hear it in this form, right? Like
it's more relaxed. That's the argument for Spaces is that it's more relaxed,
right?
Genuine.
Yep. That's right. But unlike a podcast, it's like a Joe Rogan podcast, but this is live. And so there's some mystery to it and some kinetic energy to being live, right? When you're listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, it's not live, right? So it's cool to listen to Trump in real time. And I think we have some cuts of Trump in real time. Why don't we toss it up? 2 videos have been posted of Trump behind the scenes. Let's go.
He actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. You know, both sides.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay, can I get context for this? He's talking about Biden, right?
Yeah, so he's talking about the Israel and Palestine beef, and he's saying that both sides, that he successfully got both sides to hate him because he's trying to pander to both, but ineffectively.
Okay, we have one more behind the scenes clip. Very important.
If we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And
boys, that is just alpha energy of President Trump in front of a oil painting of President Trump wearing a massive V-neck white sweater and white pants.
I commit now that if we ever do a Mar-a-Lago interview, I will wear that outfit.
So funny.
We should all wear that outfit.
I think we should. We should all just walk up in that exact outfit and take a photo in front of that portrait.
I'm so down.
It's like the ultimate Chad energy right there. It's just,
the hand on the knee, everything.
Ultimate Chad energy. Okay, here we go. Boys, who wants to take this one? He said, no way. I said, way. What was Trump talking about here?
I don't remember what the context here was. Was it Vladimir Putin?
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin. It's about ending the Ukrainian invasion.
Yeah. A little behind the scenes here too is that Viv user that posted this. That's the admin for the X handle, and then also the Tesla socials.
Really?
Yes.
Hey, Alex, is Chris Stanley?
I asked him. He didn't respond to me, but one of those videos appeared to be his. So
that's a yes. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So here's what it has. So this is someone who's very publicly an ex-employee and somebody who's worked very closely with Elon, an engineer with Elon, and someone was kind enough to actually give us a tour of X when we were in San Francisco. But Chris Stanley, it seems like Elon sent one of his top engineers to Mar-a-Lago to be there in real time to, bourgeonnage the space, tonight. I'm glad they had that because obviously there were some issues getting started. Crazy, real quick. Let's go to the haters really quick. The haters section of the internet, right? Mark Cuban hates Donald Trump, hates Elon Musk, humiliatingly endorsed Kamala Harris, right? Doesn't have a single policy position. Credit again to Elon Musk for discussing nuclear power. I give Elon Musk credit for taking time to explain the risks. Elon Musk saying climate change is not a hoax. Smart man. Like getting love from here. And I just got one more, boys. Ro Khanna, who's this Democrat member of Congress from California. He is up saying, this is awesome. We value free speech, including conversations like the one Elon Musk is having tonight. Ideas, opinions, people you may dislike or find offensive. We don't censor. That's not true. Obviously, your party does censor, but nonetheless, like he's getting Elon Musk is getting praise from libs for tonight, like the rational ones that are still semi-connected to reality. Like, good for you, man.
The thing is, they have no argument against this because the same offer was afforded to Kamala.
Yeah,
Elon offered this to Kamala and said, "I'm happy to speak to Kamala on Spaces too." She can't do interviews. She can't answer questions unscripted, and she can't have a 2-hour conversation unscripted. And, it was offered to her and she's refusing. So that's, her loss, I guess.
So we had, what will be tens of millions of people to listen to this space. I do wonder if it had started right at 8 o'clock and it kicked off perfectly, how big the viewership would have been. I would love to see them try again with what they've learned here. Again, this is the SpaceX rocket team, right? They launch rockets, they blow up, they learn, and they make a better rocket. So that's what Elon did tonight with Trump. Let's go ahead and check in on what Kamala Harris's campaign is doing. Oh, got it. Republicans for Harris with Mark Hamill. Live Zoom call. Great.
Top Republican.
Great. Good job, guys. This is the alternative programming.
Well, you know, Zoom wouldn't crash. 10 people on it.
Just FYI, boys, Inception's happening. One of the biggest, screechiest libs on the internet, Aaron Rupar. I know you're watching this right now.
He's watching right now because he's clipping our conversation too.
Dirty little goblin. You
Shout out Rupar. You've become a verb on the internet, Rupar. Okay.
He got Rupar. The legacy media doing the legacy. Look at this headline. Look at this headline, boys. Look at it. Elon's Trump space is a total disaster. Really? Why is every single meme on the internet right now being written about? Every single meme and every single content creator in the world is talking about this space right now.
These are the two most influential men in the world.
Total disaster. Well, yeah, that and Mark Zuckerberg there, Eric. For those of you not in on the inside joke, Eric looks just like Mark Zuckerberg. Like not old Mark Zuckerberg, the new like Gen Z bro Mark Zuckerberg with the chain and the hair. The path to prosperity. You are the path to prosperity, and Kamala is the opposite. What a great takeaway line from Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is such a genius thing for Trump to do. I mean, really, man, just really please let Trump do a bunch more of these. I would really like to see President Trump do a lot more of this. Let's go through ALX's feed. Shout out ALX. Everybody go follow ALX. Look at him blowing up. Look at him blowing up. I think it's 10,000 like last week I checked. Oh, look at this. Here's pinned to the top of the page. All right. ALX, what you get. Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been chatting to 1 million people for 2 hours, and Joe Biden has been asleep for 2 hours. Probably more, actually.
Yeah. 8 o'clock is his cutoff. So that's been more like 3.
Around 4-ish.
His bedtime.
The old folks' time.
It's essential that you win for the good of the country, says Elon Musk to Donald Trump. That's so true. I think that there's like some really great energy about, and Patrick Bet David actually says this here about like the country itself, and like, wait, you're not arresting criminals? Like, how can you do that? And America's a great country. We should have an American dream, and people should still believe in America. Like, there's like a really charming, optimistic tone to that conversation.
Yeah,
it wasn't all doom and gloom, and I hate that ALX knows this, but I hate being a doomer. Right? It's all broken and everything sucks, and it's not worth even trying. Like, what are you? Who's supposed to be motivated with that message? Actually, but that's like message for the right and the left, I think. And it's like it's depressing, but also it's no fun. This conversation was fun tonight.
100%.
Well, it's how they win. The Kamala game plan is to make you think that there's no way for a Republican candidate or President Trump to win. So they're going to run a basement campaign. They're not going to put her out there. They want you to think it's doom and gloom. But I think you have Trump out there tonight just hamming it up and having a good time and showing that there's a path forward. And remember what it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, here we go. A bunch of quotes from the stream itself, or the space itself. A fire space chat. Here we go. It's important that Americans feel excited about the future again. Trump, they want the American dream back. That's my favorite quote from the night. 84 days to the election. If Trump does one of these per week, he'll win.
Yeah. I'd like to see him have conversations with different people too, like similar to the conversation you just had with Elon. Like, for example, like Tucker, a Tucker space would be perfect.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker space would be perfect. And I really like that. I really like using X as sort of the connector for all this. What would be very, very cool would be to have it not just a binary conversation, but to include comments on X, like to make it more interactive. I think that would be if I were to take away and say, here's one thing I'd like, I think that would be sort of my takeaway. like make this more like obviously they need to increase the capacity. I do believe that they probably could have had like 3 or 4 million people listening if it got kicked off perfectly, and if it just accelerated, and if it didn't kick out, because what's going to happen, and this we see this all the time. We see this all the time, right? If a feed crashes, if our stream crashes, there's going to be people that won't come back, right? Recidivism, people just won't return to the stream if it's not working. They'll go find another stream, and so there's probably maybe millions of people that tried to log in and couldn't, and for the first maybe 30 minutes, and that's a long time, quite frankly, to have the place kind of locked down. So,
well, we were sweating over here in the studio trying to get it up for the audience.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, lots of. It is really essential that you win for the good of the country, man. Lots of just beautiful quotes from this evening. Any favorite standout, boys? Any favorite moments?
I still like when they were talking about the live numbers and Trump, you could hear Trump kind of in the background talking. And then like Elon didn't know what to do with like the silence. You could just hear him, wow, in the background. He's like, yeah. And he's like, congratulations. He's like, wow, I hope you're not nervous. Like, that was pretty funny.
We got 40,000 votes in our polls, boys. A lot of people want to see this happen again.
There's that.
Yeah, a lot of people want to see this happen again. There's winning 91%, almost 92%. Am I wrong? Did Elon Musk call Kamala an NPC?
Yes, he did. He absolutely did.
Oh, I missed that.
Based. Very based.
Elon is just connected into the internet like no one else, and he's bringing Trump along for the ride in certain respects. And I think you look at where they're headed with the campaign and this whole social media outreach, they know that they can go around the legacy media, and from the Aiden Ross stream to this, they've got a good plan in front of them.
One of my favorite parts, and I'll tell you why, is when Trump was talking about the Rocket Man tweets, the old Rocket Man tweets, and those. And I don't know if that was foreshadowing if we are going to get mean tweets back, but I think it might have been.
Based.
I don't know. I agree with Benny. He had a very optimistic tone tonight, and I think he's sitting there going, "There's a better path forward, and this is my message to America." And it's a lot better than the one you've had for the past 4 years.
Amen.
It's like the sitting back. There's this moment where I guess ALX. This is from either a Cybertruck or like a Tesla event where Elon Musk's like, Donald Trump calls me and I don't know why, and he just keeps calling me to like chat, and it's cool, and I'm not complaining, but it's very interesting. And it's like what they did was they just had that in front of 1 million+ people tonight. That's what they did. Here's the clip.
I don't exactly know why he. This is a good question. I mean, I have had some conversations with him, and he does call me out of the blue for no reason. I don't know why. But he does. And it's like he's very nice when he calls, and and I was like, electric cars I think are pretty good for the future. America's the leader in electric cars. Buy America and stuff, and. And I think he actually, a lot of his friends now have Teslas, and they will love it, and he's a huge fan of the Cybertruck. So I think those may be contributing factors.
Based.
Trump just calls me. I don't know why, but Trump just calls me.
That's awesome.
I don't think Elon's I think he's normally a texting guy, I would bet. And those calls, Elon's like, oh, I'll go for a while.
Yeah. I mean, it depends, but yeah, Trump is definitely more of a calling guy.
Oh, remember when he was president, they had to like take away his phone because he would just call it.
It's secure. Yeah, I think he like snuck in a phone or whatever that wasn't a secure phone. Yeah.
I mean, better late than never. Better late than never. I really wish the campaign had taken this tactic like right away and had let Trump just kind of go unleash, because you're seeing you're seeing now like this really just unbelievable energy of Trump towards independent creators, towards the alternatives to dinosaur media, of course, which would be like an Aiden Ross stream, which got almost 600,000 concurrents on Kick, which is just massive. And this space, right? Like these are this space plus Tucker Carlson, the interview with Tucker Carlson during the Fox News debate, the Aiden Ross stream, this space, this is breaking the corporate media. I mean, it's really, if you take a step back, like it's such a great way. I would argue, the best way, having been behind the scenes with President Trump, the best way to like actually listen to Trump is like in this like free flowing conversational manner. And this is what Aiden did, and this is what Elon's done. And I think that people are going to be very, very much like the inertia there is going to be such a sharp contrast to Kamala Harris, who won't even talk to Time Magazine for their own like, fellatio piece on her. And that like that cowardice, I think that's not going to like. I don't think the propaganda is going to be the only thing to convince people this election.
The thing is, we played the rappers clip last week. Kamala Harris goes on a show, and it's a very relaxed show, and it's a common question: "Hey, who's your favorite rapper or artist?" Kamala is sitting there, and she's like, "Tupac. He's not even alive. Like he's not even alive. He's the best rapper alive." And then she strikes out and can't name her favorite rapper when she's supposedly, a hip hop fan. You ask Trump that same question about his favorite artists, he pulls up his Spotify playlist and has dozens of favorite songs and artists. There's a human and then there's a fake person, and you can tell the difference. And like Trump thrives in those environments, and I don't know, Kamala wouldn't know what to say in half these answers to even serious questions too, but like personal ones, that's the most revealing because she's a fake person.
Well, I think if you look at where she's headed, she's sitting in a basement. She's not going to do anything except, go the Joe Biden strategy. They think it worked 4 years ago, and they're going to try all over again. And the way the media is just rolled over is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think what Trump is sitting there doing is saying, he already knows he's not going to get a fair shake from legacy media, but he is going to sit there and go, I'm going to go right around them. I'm going to bulldoze through them, and I'm going to go directly to the people. And he already knows the people have left. I mean, you look at MSNBC, CNN, daytime numbers, and they're horrendous. And, shows like ours, shows like Timcast, Bongino, you have all of this emerging scene of independent journalists across the web, and he'll do better going to each individual outlet than he ever would going directly onto mainstream news at this point.
I mean, yeah, the internet is king now.
Well, look at
how it started, how it's going. How it started. Donald Trump is suspended. How it's going. Millions of people are listening to Trump and Elon Musk completely shit talk Kamala Harris and call her a lib. Call her an NPC, lib.
It reminds me of like back when I was in middle school, like just like an Xbox Live party. I don't know if like,
that's right.
That, but it's like,
hey, I posted. I said X right now, and it's both of them with gaming headsets on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even see that post, but it's literally
send it. Send it.
I gotta find it.
Another favorite moment. It made me think of the Tim Walz clip where he does the little like after he high fives Kamala, but when they're talking about America needs a president who's intimidating on a national and international stage. All I could think about was the weird. All I could think about was that weird Tim Walz clip, and this is definitely more intimidating than that.
People love
that. Is amazing. Wow.
People love that Trump had the old school, like he sounded old school, like Call of Duty. Like, yeah, the audio quality was like headset quality, and he was wearing a clip. He was wearing like a clip mic, right, Eric? He was wearing that. Did you see it?
I actually did not see that. I could go back and look. I did not see what microphone he had. No,
it's in the photos.
My other favorite moment was when he was ripping on Boeing and Air Force One and how much they were charging. And basically, it was
He loves that.
But then he was like, you know, unlike your plane, Elon, like just making fun of Elon's, you know, love of. I read online that he has a leather toilet seat and Trump has a gold toilet seat. Like they're both competing to have the biggest planes, and they're just making fun of Air Force One as if it's just this dingy little, you know, old 1960s, 70s era plane that shouldn't be flying.
Well, you forgot the part where he was talking about the price of the plane. He's like, who came up with this deal? He's like, Obama. And he's like, oh, no.
I mean, I just love rich guys talking about their planes and just knocking the fact that the American people are just getting ripped off. I mean, I'm still waiting for it. I hope we can reelect Donald Trump just so we can have a red Air Force One. It's
well, red and blue, like dark reds and dark blues.
It's like the reverse of Trump Force One. It's the reverse colors.
I'm just waiting. I saw it unveiled. I always wanted to, you know, see it come through and come to fruition.
These are the memes that are in my feed. Kamala Harris. Kamala's not even. She's not gonna. It's
basement.
It's not gonna work out for her. I mean, Trump's like,
Saddam Hussein?
Trump energy is kinetic right now. It's not gonna work out for her. It's not.
Well, I mean, they were trying to pay streamers to come on, but not even that. But no one even
They're
wants to
all
do that online.
publicly roasting her.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, that was it. I mean, ALX. Any final thoughts?
I just think you should do a lot more of this, whether it be spaces, streams, just lean into the digital media instead of, you know, boring old Hannity or whatever. Like, think about it. How many times does a Hannity stream take over the entire, you know, news cycle? They don't. Aiden Ross did. This did. He goes on Hannity and, you know, maybe there's one newsworthy answer if you're lucky. But, like, you know, that dies off and nobody's talking about it all day. Like, it takes over the entire news cycle in both cases. So when he leans in and does this type of stuff, not only humanizing, but it's newsworthy and, you know, it's an overall plus for him instead of doing these boring corporate interviews.
Well, it's because no one's done like a campaign like this. All of the
Exactly.
like this media is still new. It's still developing as we saw tonight with getting into the space. So that's what really is drawing people's interest, and it's so smart. It's amazing.
But even that's kind of like even the mess ups are kind of. I mean, the fact that it's unpolished, right? And they're like there's something authentic about it, and the fact that it's like not this like extremely overproduced, like very glossy, you know, with like a stinger audio and, you know, like a brought to you by message at the end and everything. Like it's neat. It's just like letting her rip, right? It's going live and, you know, going live and like you know, over here, like the way that we're all doing, like go live in your bedroom, like talk about stuff that's actually happening. This is beating the corporate dinosaur media because people like the authenticity. There was something effed up with Aiden Ross's audio with Trump, right? There was something a little bit off. Did that ruin the stream? Did that destroy everything? No. Like people are like, well, you know, it's live. They're letting it rip. You know, they're letting it rip. Like you know, they're gonna figure it out. There's something neat and authentic to that. Did this hurt the stream? Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. 16 million is what the numbers are right now. So saying 16 million on my mobile device, saying 15.7 here. This is, I think, going to accumulate, and it's going to be, it's going to be tens of millions of people.
Well, if you look right below that, the post itself has 77.5 million.
Plus all the clips that it's generating. People are going to be watching all of the clips as well. Like, and again, it took over the trending topics and took over the topic of conversation for the past 3 hours, all over social media, and even like people are sending the screenshots. Fox News is picking up the clips, so Fox News is being forced to cover this new media.
You used to go on to cable news to get your clips to post to social media. Now you go on social media and those clips are getting posted to cable news.
Yes.
It's come full circle. And I think that the thing is, it's in your pocket. Trump knows that he's going directly to your phone in your pocket, and it's an accessibility means that you didn't have 5 years ago, and it's a game changer for this election.
And there's
Don't
also
need
like,
the news.
there's also like the mimetic value of all of this is an entirely different inertia that Trump, I think, has always kind of understood, but has never. I don't think it ever quite clicked the way it did with the Aiden Ross interview. When, man, for 24 hours, every single piece of media in my feed was either an Aiden Ross clip or a meme based on Aiden Ross dancing with Trump next to a Cybertruck. It's like my feed. I get it. I have a specifically curated feed, but still, that is a saturation and a viral inertia that I'm not sure Trump's ever seen on anything he's ever done. And so this they cannot compete with. You know, this. I'm sorry, a Kara Swisher podcast is not going to compete with. Like, what is the equivalency? Going on The View? Like really? Like, seriously, what's the equivalent? Going on The View?
Yeah.
What's the equivalent? That's it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Kamala hasn't yet. I mean,
yeah.
No, she hasn't done anything since betraying Biden.
I mean, it's insane though. Not even The View. I feel like that's where she would be. That's like her core demographic right there.
Oh yeah.
The cat ladies.
The cat ladies. Kamala cat ladies.
So, boys, any final thoughts?
We need more of it.
Yeah, need more.
We need more.
We want more.
We want more with
We're
Elon,
begging
with
for
Aiden.
more.
I think Trump should do like a video game stream next.
I
Similar
also
to what he
posted
did with
that
Aiden.
on
I
X.
mean, they could be chatting while they're. I mean, and Elon was that today or yesterday? He was.
What is
testing
Trump's
with,
video game? Does he like Monopoly?
I feel like he. Maybe Spider-Man. He's trying to save the world. or
Grand
something.
Theft Auto. The new Grand Theft Auto. No,
that's not Trump.
No,
he's a good guy.
Let's end on a happy note. Gavin Newsom is getting ratioed right now. Glitchy tech issues, uncomfortable silences, failure to launch, and thus just the candidate. No, and ratioed.
So lame.
In San Francisco without stepping on.
Didn't he just do like a photo op cleaning up a homeless encampment?
Yeah,
That was weird.
he's running for vice president because he sees.
Oh,
the
there it
weakness
is, right
of-
there.
of
That's
Tim Walz.
exactly right. That's exactly right. And he's getting completely ratioed. Good luck, Gavin. Have a good time on the Pod America or whatever. Like whatever embarrassing alternative you have in leftist simp gimp media. This will be again a very, very exciting moment in American history right here. Watching Gavin Newsom listen to the Elon Musk, Donald Trump X interview. There we go. a live shot of Gavin Newsom and the Kamala Harris HQ team listening.
It's accurate.
Like whatever. So what? There was a glitch. It makes it authentic. Like it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it. You own all the dinosaur media. Good for you. Nobody cares, and it's dead and dying. This is like where all the energy is. So.
It's just raw and real, like with the glitches and everything. Like,
and Elon, to his fault, doesn't lie. So if he says it's a DDoS attack, you're going to see the data come out from him saying, "Hey, here's where it came from." And there's nefarious actors out there, and they're coming after anything that makes Trump look good.
Yeah, something cool. Like you go to a concert not to hear the artist like click play on an iPod. You want to actually hear like authentic music, and sometimes it sound a little different than the album. Okay, because they're gonna riff, and that's cool. That makes it an experience. that's fun to experience live. So good. Like the challenge here is like Kamala, go live on a space. Go live on a space and see how many people show up. Go. Like, show us how valuable your campaign is. Show us how excited people are for you when they're not being paid by casting companies. Show us how excited they are. Maybe there are AI accounts that can join.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, that's the challenge. Let's see the Kamala Harris one. You know, they're having a real one over there, melting down, trying to raise $25.
Pathetic.
They can do it on Threads.
Give us.
Oh wow.
Whole 25 users on Threads.
We got to go full circle on the show.
I don't even think they have like live functionality on Threads.
It doesn't matter. They'll say it does.
It'll just be
post back and forth.
Yeah. You can ask me anything with Kamala.
It'll just be her and Mark Hamill and Republicans.
Oh my God.
Join me on Threads. The thread, actually, the thread. Oh no! We've reached the singularity point in the internet. Okay, well, good night, Aaron Rupar. Good night. Sorry to end your content tonight.
Yeah, is he still watching this?
Yeah, we have a meme for you though, Aaron. Don't you worry. We're gonna send it off, boys. Elon says he wants to work in the Trump administration, so here we go. Here's our meme of that. Have a great night. Thank you all so very much. We'll see you in the morning. And this was a record-breaking meeting for us, so we feel blessed.
Loading in 1 second.
Okay.
So we're loading the final closing meme.
Okay, up to the chat.
We are ready.
All right, boys. Say later the chat. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. See ya.
Billionaire Elon Musk, recently appointed to President Trump's cabinet as Transportation Secretary and Border Czar, is now he is rounding up asylum seekers like cattle into his rocket ships. He calls them illegal aliens. The problem is the rockets keep exploding.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.